I've spent hundreds of hours using Voiceflow as well as Botpress. At the end of this video, you will actually know which provider you should use, when, and what the difference between these providers are. If you like this video, please make sure to leave a like, it helps me a lot. And without much talking, let's jump into the video. First of all, let's talk about the ease of entrance. How easy is it to get started and build your first bot? The interface in Botpress is pretty easy and simple. You get all the blocks on the left hand side and you just drag and drop them in there. Also, these blocks don't have much options to customize them, making them really easy to understand. Subsequently, you can build your first bot really fast in Botpress. But there's also a downside to that. When your client requires some custom functionalities, you have to use the custom code block within Botpress. To use that block, you have to understand JavaScript as well as basic coding. So when your client requires that functionality, the ease of entrance gets significantly harder within Botpress. When you take a first look at the Voiceflow canvas, it surely can get a bit overwhelming. The blocks themselves have far more settings, making them a lot more customizable. So when it comes to building your first chatbot, Botpress is the easier platform to use. But when your client requires you to do a more complex bot, Voiceflow still assists you with a ton of options within the interface. You can build a more complex bot there without needing extensive coding knowledge like in Botpress. So the ease of entrance stays relatively low even for advanced bots. Let's take a look at the scope of functionalities. Botpress has a lot of great functionalities. Besides all the standard ones to actually build a bot, I really like the agents in there, especially the summary and translator agent. The summary agent provides Botpress with a summary of the conversation so far. This lets the bot answer accordingly within the conversation and keep the conversation logical and going. The translator agent utilizes GPT to let the bot answer in every language the user speaks. Because everything in Botpress is built on JavaScript, you can either use the built-in language detection or you can detect the language yourself with custom code. Also, the Botpress team is continuously developing new features like the current one, triggers. Triggers let the bot automatically initiate the conversation, meaning when you go, for example, on the website, you can set the bot that it sends the first message after 10 seconds of visiting. Also, there are other triggers, for example, when the user clicks a specific product. Great feature. In summary, Botpress contains all features to build most of the required chatbots pretty easily. So, as I said, when it comes to translation, Botpress is the clear winner. In Voiceflow, you have to set the language manually you want the bot to speak in. It's not as freely possible to detect it and set it as in Botpress. So when it comes to language, Botpress is the clear winner. Other than that, Voiceflow contains everything Botpress has and a lot more. First great thing, buttons in Voiceflow have background actions. That means the following. When you click on an option, Botpress would just redirect you to the next block. You could make a background action with custom coding and a lot of JavaScript, but as I said, that requires a lot of knowledge in that area. In Voiceflow, on the other hand, you can easily make background API calls, call intents, run custom code, and so on and so forth. Everything built in the interface. You never have to deal with custom code, installing dependencies, and so on. Now let's talk about the second amazing feature in Voiceflow, capturing entities. While Botpress is always capturing the answer as a whole, so as an utterance, Voiceflow lets you extract entities out of that utterance. What do I mean by that? So for example, if the bot asks for the username and the user answers, "My name is Max," you can actually extract the name Max instantly within Voiceflow. That is not possible in Botpress. That way, you have the ability to build bots far more precisely. Third great feature, built-in API calls. In Botpress, you have to make the API calls yourself in the custom code block by either using Axios or Fetch. Additionally, the Axios request was actually temporarily unavailable within Botpress, making the bots not usable for a certain amount of time, but leads to a lot of stress. In Voiceflow, you have a block for making API requests where you just have to paste in the API URL itself. That makes using APIs there super easy and convenient. The fourth great feature in Voiceflow is the NLU manager. NLU stands for Natural Language Understanding and means the understanding of the human language by the bot. Voiceflow contains an NLU manager that lets you make adjustments to your NLU data in there. The manager itself provides you with different, really helpful scores, like for example the intent confidence. That symbolizes how well the bot understands particular intents. That way you are able to make the right adjustments to make your bot as understandable and as good to use as possible. Voiceflow's biggest feature, the voice assistant. Voiceflow chatbots as the name intends, can be deployed as voice assistants. That gives you a whole new layer you can offer to your clients. Because that way you can build support bots that are actually capable of speaking with your clients. Botpress does not offer that feature. The great thing is all of these features are available within the editor. You don't need any custom coding for that. Now let's talk about deployment. When it comes to deploying the bot, Botpress makes it as easy as it gets. First of all, after publishing your bot, you instantly receive a shareable link where your bot is hosted on. With that link, you can instantly show your bot to your client without doing a single thing. If you want to deploy the bot on a website, you just copy the 2 script tags and paste it in the header of the website. Additionally, Botpress offers a lot of built-in integrations like WhatsApp, Instagram, Slack, Microsoft Teams, and so on and so forth. If you like to deploy it, for example, in WhatsApp, Botpress instantly provides you with a valid webhook. You just need to fill in the necessary data, like the access token and the verification token, as well as the phone number ID, and you're good to go. All in all, it's extremely easy to deploy in Botpress. But one downside on that, you are not free. If you want to deploy it on another platform that is not supported by Botpress yet, you simply can't do that. How does Voiceflow handle deployment? First of all, I have to say, Voiceflow does not provide you with a shareable link like Botpress does. Also, the deployment is in general more complex there. Deploying it on a website is still pretty easy. All you have to do is copy the JavaScript and paste it before the closing body tag of your website. If you like to deploy it on other platforms, it gets more complicated. You can't just fill in the necessary data like in Botpress because Voiceflow just provides you with the API. So you have to figure it out yourself how to make the actual API call on the platform you like to deploy it. So Voiceflow, that's most of the time really easy to use for non-tech savvy people, makes it really hard to deploy. But on the other side of the coin, because Voiceflow provides you with different APIs for the dialogue, for the project, and for the knowledge base, you can basically deploy it wherever you like to, giving you a ton of freedom there. Chatbot Customization. When it comes to customizing and styling your chatbot, Botpress is the way to go. Since everything is based on JavaScript that is accessible, you can basically customize anything. From the chat bubble, to the chat container, to even the position where the chatbot is located on the website, all by using CSS. But even if you are not familiar with CSS styling, Botpress gives you an amazing tool, the Botpress Styler. In the styler, you can customize your chatbot with an interface and afterwards generate a CSS file. Voiceflow on the other side is really rigid. You can basically only edit 4 things: chatbot color, as well as the images and the icon. So when a client requests custom designing of the chatbot, Voiceflow leaves you in the lurch. Let's talk about the learning resources. The Botpress documentation is terrible, but the community is awesome. Let me explain. When you take a look at the Botpress documentation, you realize pretty fast that it got written by someone who doesn't like writing. The documentation is the bare minimum and doesn't do a great job at explaining the features in detail. So learning Botpress just with the documentation itself is pretty painful. Additionally, the Botpress YouTube channel is not that active and the videos are only semi-helpful. Luckily, there is a great community. Botpress has a really big, active and well-structured Discord server. The Botpress moderators there do a fantastic job. Every time I had a question, I found help in the Discord. People are in constant dialogue, come up with great feature ideas and give constant feedback. So it really feels like a community-driven project. Discord server itself is so valuable when it comes to learning Botpress that it even makes up for the bad documentation in my opinion. Voiceflow is vice versa. The documentation is fantastic. For every feature in the Voiceflow editor, there's an advanced documentation explaining everything in detail with respective pictures. Learning Voiceflow just with the documentation itself is definitely possible. Additionally, Voiceflow puts out some great content on their YouTube channel as well. The community, on the other hand, is not really there. The Discord server is really small and there are still not many videos out there on YouTube explaining things in Voiceflow. So Voiceflow feels more like a company, Botpress more like a community project. Both providers have their advantages as well as disadvantages when it comes to the resources. Now let's talk about pricing. Botpress lets you pay per incoming messages. 1000 incoming messages as well as 5 different bots are free in Botpress. When it goes above that, Botpress charges $0.005 per incoming message. So 10,000 incoming messages come at $50 per month. One great thing about Botpress: also in the free plan, there is no Botpress branding. So you can actually build your first bots, customize them as you like without a watermark for free. That's really generous in my opinion. Voiceflow offers multiple plans and a free plan as well. Included are 100,000 AI tokens as well as 2 bots, but they are branded and you're not able to remove that branding. In the Pro plan for $40 per month, you receive 1 million AI tokens, you can create unlimited bots and all of them are not branded anymore. Additionally, there is a third plan, the Enterprise option, for big companies with a custom pricing. For starters, Botpress is here the superior option. It offers far more for free. When it comes to paying, I think the Pro plan from Voiceflow as well as the offer from Botpress are pretty similar. There isn't too much of a difference when it comes to pricing there. Now, which one is the go-to bot builder? As always in life, it's never black and white. The truth lays always in the gray area. If you're just starting out and you like to get the first bot running, use Botpress. The interface is pretty simple, you've got a big community helping you with problems and explain things to you, and you get a lot for free there. Also, if a client requires custom bot design, use Botpress. Botpress gives you the freedom to design your bot exactly as you like. If your client requests a more complex bot with custom functionalities, Voiceflow is far superior. If you like to give the bot the ability to speak, use Voiceflow. If you like to train the bot in a certain way, or you like to capture entities instead of the whole utterance, use Voiceflow. Both providers have strengths as well as weaknesses. In the end, you should be capable of using both in order to provide your client with the most suitable solution.